So I actually found a few more things, and I thought it would be worth it to redo this video just because there's enough that I found that I should probably mention it. At first glance, this looks like an awesome website. I mean, they legitimately have free shipping on all their ball pythons that are not on sale. I can tell by when I look at the price, you know, that price is the same price everyone else is selling before shipping, if not lower. They have a ton of snakes. They got a ton of, variety. In fact, about a week ago, they're ones that they put up on here that only lasted 24 hours because it was something almost nobody has and extremely rare, extremely hard to get a hold of, and it was really cheap. They appeared to me like they were stormtroopers, which is like a solid black and white snake, exanthic snake. Super rare, up for like $350, $375 instead of what I would think like at least would be $600, $800. A lot of people sell those for over $1,000. So, of course, they got bought up with that price and that much rarity. Of course, they got bought up in 24 hours. So if you look, this is still the first page. And then we go on to page 2. And then if you go and look at page 2, and I've got it set up with, the youngest snakes first. So we're still in 2021 on page 2. And then if you go to page 3, about halfway down on page 3 currently, it starts out 2021 and then we go down to 2020. So you've got about 2.5 or 2 1/3 pages for 2020, and then the rest of the 21 pages is all 2020. Why do they have that many 1-year-old snakes? Taking into account that last year was like the year of pets, and I even saw a thing on the news about snakes in particular. It's not just little cute puppy dogs. People were buying snakes all over the place. So they should have had a problem last year selling snakes. And if you go back and look at their snakes that were born this year, most of them that they have that stay on here a while are the ones that, almost everybody has, or a lot more breeders have. Those are the ones that stay on here longer. The only ones that get gone real fast are the ones that no one else has. Despite some of these being a lot cheaper, they still stay on here longer if other people have them, usually. That tells me it's probably not someone's first choice. And despite being set up extremely conveniently for breeders, I mean, look at that on the side right there. Not everybody does it like that. You would think breeders would just love the year-olds because a lot less longer time it would take for them to get them ready for breeding. And these grab bags are something else too. I mean, I saw a blue-eye leucistic $400 snake in there for $165, and now of course that's gone because somebody took the bait. They have new ones every week, usually put up twice a week. It looks like Tuesday and Thursday. This is the only one left. This is Sunday, and it's the only one left. And it's the most expensive grab bag, but granted, these are some really fancy snakes. So you're still getting, in the grab bags, depending on which one it is and what snakes are in there, like 45 to almost 70% off for, typically they're 2021s. Why? I get that they're usually males, but still, you're still basically giving it away. Why would you just give them away like that unless you're desperate to get rid of them? What's wrong with them? Are they sick? Do they have mites? Will they not eat? Or do you just have a serious problem not being able to sell enough snakes? So I went on a quick Google search, and yeah, I did look at some of these videos, but I'm not going to lie, I didn't look at all of them. There's no way I could look at all of them. And they even have, this is the second page, that I'm on, and there's tons of videos that even have some with a mystery box and how that worked out. No one that I ever saw on these, had a bad experience to the point where they didn't send it to them, or, it died or something terrible. And despite that, usually that'd be enough to reassure me, right? But despite that, I'm still sitting here thinking I have absolutely no reason to think that this is a bad company, but I have that gut feeling like I should not do this. I think part of that is, just how many flash sales, like 40% off flash sales they have, just how many grab bags they have, just how many, $800 snakes they have for 300. I think that's part of what is getting me to be like, sometimes you'll find some interesting stuff in their terms and conditions. So I looked at that. Everything's normal except for one thing, and it's really not a bad thing. It's just different. And it could just be because they really care about their snakes and, just want to make sure they're okay. Typically, they'll only say send a photo if something's wrong. But they want you to send a photo regardless. You have to do this. This is one of the conditions. Theoretically speaking, if you didn't do this, they could potentially refuse sale to you in the future because it is some of their conditions. They probably wouldn't do that, but technically they could do that. So if someone didn't read this, they were supposed to send an actual photo, not just tell them a photo saying, yep, got here good, the snake's good, it's in good condition, blah, blah, blah. That's something you have to do if you buy from them. Versus most people, they only get into the send the picture thing if there's something wrong. So not concerned about that. They could just really love their snakes. Who knows? Going on to FAQs, typically FAQs are really, the place that you might see something weird. Most of these are just normal questions, normal Q&A. The only ones that are not normal are those two right there in the middle. And, some of this is very controversial, I will admit. But when you pair the two together, that's when it starts being a little strange. And I'll explain this eventually, but it takes a little time, so bear with me. So the first thing they're saying, if they feed it live compared to frozen, there's no difference in the way the snake reacts. They won't make them any more aggressive, whatever. So in their experience, think about that. They've had thousands and thousands of snakes. Well, I only have a handful of snakes, and I only had to run into my second snake ever to prove that wrong. If I can run into my second snake, and the only reason why she had to be fed live is because I didn't get her as a baby, and whoever had her before me only fed her live, and that's all she would eat. And you could tell it wasn't, if she'd been handled a lot, you could tell it wasn't fear-based. You could tell she wasn't being defensive. She was just looking for food. There's a specific behavior when they're looking for food. And you would try to pick her up, and it didn't matter how long you held her, she would just still be looking for food. And eventually, if there was no food there, she'd just bite your finger. She knew there was no food there. My hands didn't smell like mice. If you think about this, our hands are about the width, maybe a little bigger than a baby mouse. And just the way that our hands move, just naturally, the way our hands move naturally, If I was a snake, the movement of that, think about that. Feeding them live unearths a certain sense that they wouldn't normally use. At least it heightens it. They wouldn't normally use it to that extent. They learn that prey always moves, and the way that your fingers move, to me, if I was a snake, it would resemble, it's the length of an adult mouse, the width of about a baby mouse, and just the way it moves. I would easily mistake that, if I was a snake, I would easily mistake it for food just because of the way it moves. Which takes us to this part where most people will tell you if you want your snake to have good manners and not be snappy, especially when you first get it out, to feed it in a separate container. And they acknowledge that a lot of people say to do this because it reduces the chances of getting bitten and all that. So, right there, but we don't agree with that. And their reason is because, their best sense of smell or whatever. And they think that if they don't smell any food there, they'll just, ignore it. No. And there's two reasons why. Because if they're fed live, they're not just going by their sense of smell, they're going by their sight and by their hearing, to be honest with you, because they can hear little vibrations and things like that of the heartbeat and them moving. But even if all of their senses that they use to hunt tell them there's no food here, all predators are hopeful creatures, and all predators, snakes included, will go to places where they have found a pattern because they know that they have found food there many times before, and that is where they'll always expect food. So if you always feed them in their cage, or even if you've only fed them in a different place for just a few times, if they associate the slightest bit of pattern, they will go to that place always with the thought in mind that food might be here. And if they don't smell food, if they don't see food, whatever, they're still going to be looking. You feed them live on top of that, and they're looking, oh, something's moving. And then they bite down on your finger. That's why most people say don't feed them in the cage. That way they're not snappy when you go to pick them up. And don't feed them live. That way they won't mistake, your movement of your fingers. In the very least, most people feed frozen. Not usually out of convenience reasons like they're saying here, but because they don't want the prey to fight back, because sometimes it does, and injure the snake. Rodents' teeth are actually really sharp, so they can injure. A lot of breeders, at least at first, will feed live because it gets the snakes to, eat better. Some breeders will always feed live for whatever reason. Most big, gigantic companies like this that have tons of snakes aren't going to take the time to put them in a separate cage just because they're lazy and they don't have time. They have thousands of snakes. Would you blame them? So here, if you read in between the lines, they're saying, a lie right here, basically, that doing this doesn't encourage aggression and biting. But what they're really saying in between the lines, I can see it right there in between the lines. What they're really saying, look, we got way too many snakes. We don't have time to feed them in a separate place, yada yada. We're going to falsely reassure you people who want them as pets that this doesn't, blah, 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 blah. But we know better. We just, we just have too many snakes. We want to breed them. We want to make money off them. We don't care whether or not they got good temperaments. It's either that or they're really particular and really, stupid. And they really do believe that. But I have trouble believing they're that stupid. They have a lot of flash sales, 40% off flash sales. They got the free shipping thing. They got the grab bag thing. They got the stuff that you would think should be $800 for $375. They got the strangely surplus of year-old snakes, just way too many year-old snakes compared to their younger ones. They seem to be a little weird on how they run things. At this point, I have way too many questions. Way too many questions. Why so cheap? Why do this way? Why do you go out of your way to reassure people about the biting thing? Why does it seem like the only things you really have trouble selling is usually the stuff that everyone else has a bunch of? I could see if they only did the grab bag thing every once in a while. If they only did the flash sale thing every once in a while. I could even see if they always offered free shipping. I could even see that, But with how many huge deals are on the whole site, it's a too good to be true scenario, Are they sick? Are they not eating? Do they have mites? Like I said, is it just a weird company? And whoever owns it, and whoever runs it, is just too difficult to deal with? I mean, those reviews, I could see how people could be happy very easily because the price and the fact that they even send it to you with a place like this, the fact that they don't scam you is huge. So basically, putting this together, I think they really would send you your snake. I don't think they'd scam you. If you're not a breeder and if you want it as a pet, I would go for maybe getting a snake that is younger, that doesn't have all of those, months and months and months of being fed live in their cage. So you can more easily train it to be a nicely tempered snake. That of course, with proper handling. And expect that these people probably are going to be a little weird. Unless this is something I just can't find anywhere else, I'm probably not going to buy from them. All those little subtle red flags kind of combine together into one bigger red flag, and to me it's just not worth it.